Greetings, beautiful people. Welcome to Awakening with Wendy. I'm Wendy, and today we're going to talk about 3 empowering concepts to awaken to. So these are 3 ideas that you can bring forward into your consciousness today. And my belief is that if you didn't know about these things before and you accept them into your consciousness, you're going to walk away from this video feeling exponentially more empowered than you were before. So I'm very excited to share this with you, and I want to get started and get right to the point so you can take away what's going to help you. But first, I want to say something that is going to be true for all my videos, which is I'm sharing with you today perception. So, this is ideas or conclusions I've come to based on my experiences and the knowledge, my own research and stuff like that. So I believe what I'm saying to be true. However, I'm not stating it as a fact. I have a background in science, and I would not be very respected in the scientific community if I were to say to you, like, everything I'm saying today is a fact. Although I really do think there's a lot of scientific evidence out there that alludes at least to some of the things we're going to talk about. Alright, so let's get started. Before I get into the details, I invite you to take one deep, beautiful, loving breath where you notice where you are today, and appreciate that. Let's go. Feels so good. All right, let's get started. Idea number 1, collective consciousness. Now this idea is kind of a precursor for the other 2 ideas, which are going to be more like hands-on usable, but I want you to know about this to help you understand. So, collective consciousness. Sorry, I'm trying to get the angle. You guys probably already know what consciousness means. We take that to mean like our awareness, our thoughts, our feelings, just everything you perceive when you move throughout your life so that's what consciousness tends to mean. And then the collective, it's a group, but what it means for us. Well, let me start with an example of collective consciousness. One of my favorite examples of all time is the human brain. I'm obsessed with neuroscience, obsessed with brains, have been forever. And it's so cool that I can tie this in. This is kind of like this awakening stuff is newer knowledge. I've been obsessed with neuroscience my whole life, but up until a couple of years ago, I was very asleep, if you will. So it's amazing to me they can connect. But anyways, collective consciousness. So you have neurons, the nerve cells of your brain, and each one of those neurons is a little bit different in at least its position, its connections to the other neurons, and in those connections, rather than the neurons themselves so much, it's the connections between neurons that make up your memories and thoughts, which I found very interesting when I first when I first learned about that I thought like my memories would be stored in the cell somewhere physically, but it's more about like the electrical impulses and the pathways between the cells. So to tie this back in though, what I'm saying is that because each cell has different connections, each neuron has different pathways to the other neurons and stuff, you could interpret that as each neuron has a different consciousness than the other one. They're not all exactly the same. But as a collective, those neurons come together and make up what you perceive to be your consciousness. So, I mean, this isn't big news probably, but like, might be something to think about. Your consciousness is made up of a collective. And the reason why I brought that up is to say that this works on small and large scales, and the scale that's going to be most important to you is the collective consciousness of humanity. It's just going to come up so much that I just want you to know that there is a collective consciousness, kind of like a mind, if you will, that humanity has. And in that way, that's one of many ways that we're all connected. There is like, there's that one mind that when one person, and you're a part of that mind, so if you ever felt like your thoughts don't matter, or your experiences don't matter because maybe you feel alone and you feel like no one's ever gonna see what you saw and that makes you feel lonely, like, I'm bringing forward this idea to you that you aren't actually alone. There is this collective that you contribute to actively every single day. And evolution occurs on small and large scales. you'll find out that a lot of things occur on as is above is below. Something that you see on a big scale happens on a small scale. So the point is, collective consciousness, humanity has one. It is one of the things that ties us all together. When one of us succeeds, collective consciousness, you'll find that because we are so interconnected, what is best for you, what's truly best for you, not what your ego thinks is best, but what is best for you tends to be best for the collective. So we really are all into this together. So cool. That's number 1, collective consciousness, and let's move right on to number 2. Number 2 is that the planet, just like species evolve, animals, so do planetary and celestial bodies, and our planet Earth is, on her own evolutionary journey. And I'm hesitant to use the words that I want to use for what this means, but I'll tell you how I perceive it is that she is making a transition from a 3rd and 4th dimensional reality and consciousness to a 5th dimensional reality. Whoa, dimensions, whoa. Isn't that crazy? Like string theory talks about dimensions, and they're real. I mean, at least there's a science that supports that they're real. But, it's really crazy to think that it's actually like a part of our journey. When I first found out about this, I was struck by how very similar it seems to be to a video game, like these dimensions. Like, you can't get to the next level until you learn what there is to learn or do all you're supposed to do in one level of consciousness. So anyways, what you need to know really, the big takeaway, Earth is in a transition, and what this means for humanity, we're also in a transition. And what's going to change is our consciousness. Up until now, for thousands and thousands of years, we've been under this illusion of separation, like, my brain, my thoughts are contained in my head, and I can try to share with you, but, my mind is mine, and it's separate from yours, and, like, I'm separate from this chair that I'm sitting on, and that type of stuff, separation. When they started being able to check out smaller scale molecules and then atoms and break it down to the electrons and all that, they found out that there was a lot more space in between what we perceive to be solid was actually like a lot of space, and not even what the matter that was there, it's not even like there in a place that we could pinpoint. It's more like a probability cloud. Like, you can't even know where the physical thing is, in a way. You can just say where it might be. So, yeah, I trying to tie this in as I speak to what I'm trying to say about, basically, we're not as separate from everything that we think we are, like one physical object. It's all broken down to energy in the beginning and in the end, one had to come first, right? It was either matter or energy, and I believe that energy came first, and that really that's all everything is energy. This energy comes together in a way that we perceive as physical, but I don't know, it's just physical's not exactly what we thought before. We used to think that physical meant very different, like, isolated objects, and all you really need to know is that we're in this together. Again, it comes up again. We're in this together. Once you start to understand that what's, like, when one person suffers, so does the collective. When one person feels joy, it feeds into the collective as well. And, but to bring the focus back onto the planet, another cool thing I really want to mention is that this kind of feeds into the planet has a consciousness as well. Again, this is a perception, but it makes so much sense to me. Like, I talked to you about how the neurons of our brain have a consciousness that makes up the brain. Well, what if we are the cells of the Earth? We make up her consciousness. What if? That's seriously what I believe. And it's crazy and it's cool, and my goal is to bring in as much science as possible for these ideas, but at a different time. This purpose of this video is just big takeaways that are going to help you today, whether or not you want to look into the science. Okay, so Earth is transitioning. She's also alive. You can help out with this transition by raising your own consciousness to more of a unity mindset. And there's other things about fifth dimensional frequencies that I'll talk about, like unconditional love, just like oneness, acceptance, all that good stuff that you hear about in enlightenment. It actually translates to a frequency in your brain and in reality. They know this to be the mysterious gamma wave. Like, I don't know too much about this, but I read that the gamma wave is kind of mysterious and hard to achieve, but the people who do have gamma wave brain waves are usually those that are really good at meditating, really good at being grateful, that type of stuff. Okay, so if you want to be an interdimensional traveler, guess what? I really believe that you have the toolkit already built inside of you, and you can start today by just, your number one tool is going to be meditation. We'll talk about how to get to the fifth dimension in length, but yes, number 2, planet is transitioning and she is alive and conscious. Woo! Okay, right, here's number 3, my personal favorite. There's a lot of different takes on this, but I'm gonna say my favorite way of thinking about it is thoughts create reality. Boom. Another way this has been described is the law of attraction. Another thing that kind of came to me today was just like the law of perception. I don't know if that's, I haven't looked into that, but I'm sure it's a thing. But they're all the same idea. So, and this is, if you've never thought about this before, and I hadn't up until like a year and a half ago. Well, I thought about it a little bit, but I never thought that like literally my thoughts could create my reality. But so it's a hard concept to take in, and it takes a lot of time to understand what that means. But for the practical approach, I'm just gonna take you through a little thought experiment. Okay, what if your thoughts created reality? What would that mean for your life? What if you believed that? The first thing that would change is that you would be responsible for everything in your life. You wouldn't be a victim of circumstance anymore. You wouldn't have to think that something happened that was out of your control, because on some level you thought that circumstance into existence. So even if you don't believe any of this, this is my whole thing. You'll find is like I'm not really into the facts. I mean, I am. Okay, that's not true, but for me, whether or not something's true is more about like if I can use it and improve my life with it. If it's gonna make my life better, then why not, you know, pretend it's true or think about it as if it's true. I invite you to do it that way. Like, take what works for you, leave what does not. But what if your thoughts create a reality? Number 1, you wouldn't be a victim anymore. And then you'd have to start thinking like, okay, if I created this, then why? Like, what? You'd become more conscious of your thoughts, like which thoughts are creating this outcome that I really don't like? Which ones? You'd start to notice some patterns and what type of thinking brings out certain things about, and you just become a lot more conscious of your mind and your beliefs. And your beliefs, let me tell you, are making up a lot of what you perceive to be reality. And a lot of those beliefs are limiting. So a lot of awakenings just like letting those limiting beliefs dissolve. And I am gonna teach you so many different ways to do that, and I'm awakening with you guys, going on this journey with you. But yes, number 3, thoughts create reality. So start learning what that means today. Start changing your thoughts. If you want to just, you know, like change it now because you're sick of your reality that you've been experiencing. Some tools that have really worked for me are affirmations. I'll write down like what I want to be true for myself, and one thing that I hear a lot that's important is to write it as if it is true. So instead of being like I'm going to have great self-control, I would say I have great self-control. That's something I need to work on, by the way. But, you know, I would say it like that, like in the present. And then another tool about this is visualization, or people say visualization, but, and that is a great tool. If you can imagine it and like have a picture in your mind, absolutely 100%. I find that I'm more of like a feeling type person, like my sense of touches and like emotions really strong. So for me, it's about tapping into what would it feel like say I'm doing an affirmation about my dream job. I would say I'm going to have this job and it's going to be like this and this and it's going to feel like this and this. But then I'd take a moment to stop talking and just like sit there, kind of meditate, breathe, and try to tap into that feeling, that frequency of if that were already true. And through the law of attraction, that is how you get closer to the reality you want. So number 3, thoughts create reality. That is your most practical tool for changing your life today, right now. The other 2 ideas are just something that I thought was really good to know. I hope you did too. Yeah, I really hope that this brought something new to the table, or if you already knew all this, I hope it was good review. Thanks so much for listening and for being here and sharing your energy with me. I'm so grateful. I appreciate it so much. And I will see you guys next time. Much love to you all. Take care. Think carefully.